Hi everyone and welcome to Drawing for All. I am Stepan Ayvazyan and in this video I will show you how to draw a book. We will start by drawing an open book in a realistic style. Then I will show you how to draw a stack of books. So let's start. To draw a book with realistic volume while keeping the proportions and symmetry accurate, we first need to build a simple construction. We will start by sketching the basic framework of the book using a simple geometric shape. Begin by marking the top and bottom edges of the book, making sure it's positioned correctly on the paper. Next, find the center of the book and sketch the vertical center line. If it's necessary, you can adjust your construction lines before moving on. Using your pencil as a measuring tool, mark equal distances on the left and right of the center guideline. Because the book is slightly tilted in perspective, the lower part will appear a little wider than the upper part. Connect these marks with light lines to create a slightly tapered rectangle. At this point, you've established the bottom surface of the book. Now it's time to build the thickness of the pages. Using light lines, begin sketching the visible faces of the page block. Think of the book as a flattened cube. Since it turns slightly, the entire form should recede into perspective. Once you've established the basic three-dimensional shape, locate the spine and indicate it with a smooth, gentle curve. Next, draw the lower edges of the pages using light curved lines that extend from the both sides towards the center. Keep both sides as symmetrical as possible. The side edges of the book should remain straight. Don't worry if your lines aren't perfect on the first attempt. Simply erase them and try again if necessary. Now begin giving the page block more volume by adding light curved lines along the foredge of the book. These lines should gently follow the contour of the outermost pages. As you work, avoid spending too much time on any single area. Looking at one part of the drawing too long can distort your perception. Instead, move around your drawing, constantly returning to previous areas to compare and refine them. For example, you can return to the center line and make it cleaner and more precise. Remember that you can always use an eraser whenever something doesn't look right in your drawing. The center line should end up straight, clean, and well defined. Now clean up the upper edges of the book as well. Continue refining the drawing by working on both sides alternatively. Constantly compare the left side to the right, the top to the bottom, and the overall proportions of your entire book. This habit will help you spot small mistakes and refine them. If you want cleaner and straighter lines, try making quicker and more confident strokes. You can use a ruler if you want, but it's better to rely on your hand when possible. This helps improve your line control. Keep adjusting the shape of the pages until you are happy with how it looks. Next, add a few short lines to show the edges of the pages under the top ones. Keep adding details, but don't try to draw every page. Just suggest a few of the top pages and show the rest as one solid block. As you can see, I move around the drawing instead of focusing on one area too long. I keep checking the sizes, angles, and proportions. This helps keep the drawing balanced and even. Remember, you are drawing a simple 3D shape, similar to a flattened cube, so parts that are farther away should look slightly smaller. That's basic perspective. By the way, if you want to learn more about drawing cubes, there is a link to that lesson on my website. To give your book drawing more depth, make the parts that are closer to the viewer slightly darker and more defined. As the surfaces move farther away, gradually make them lighter. You can achieve this by simply darkening the outlines of the areas closest to us. Again, try to work on both halves alternatively, instead of focusing on one side for too long. To make your lines clean and straight, first, lightly sketch their placements, barely touching the paper. Then, gradually darken the lines. Now, erase the construction lines you made at the start. Be careful not to erase the main outlines. If your lines were light, this should be easy. Since the bottom part of the book is closer to us, its edges should look a bit darker and more defined. Lightly darken those edges to show this effect. Next, give the spine a bit of thickness. It doesn't need to be perfectly smooth. Real books are not. Now draw the cover. Work on both sides, switching back and forth like before. The cover should stick out a little past the pages. First, draw the side edges, then the bottom edge. When the spine is ready, add some volume to the cover. Watch how each surface turns in space. These changes in direction create a realistic dimensional effect. Notice how some parts overlap each other. Even small overlaps make the drawing look more solid and realistic. Again, to get clean, crisp lines, use light hand movements to mark their placement, barely touching the paper with your pencil. Then, gradually darken them until you get dark, clean, straight lines. After the cover is done, define the outer edges of the spine. Then, add the page texture. Let the lines follow the shape you already drew. Don't make all the lines the same thickness. Some should be thicker, some thinner, since real pages are not perfectly even. In some areas, the pages are closer together, and in others, they are less tightly pressed together. That's exactly the effect you should achieve by varying the pressure on your pencil. Finally, add shadows, starting with the darkest areas. Shade the inside of the cover first, then build the rest of the shadows. Work slowly and add light layers instead of making them too dark right away. Now begin adding hatching to the pages, starting with the sheets on top. Try to keep the values even on both sides of the book. If you'd like to learn more about hatching techniques, you can visit my website, where I published a complete article on this subject. Next, add hatching to the cover. It should be slightly darker than the pages, so the drawing doesn't look too flat. Check your entire book drawing, look at any mistakes, and correct them if necessary. Now, let's take a look at how to draw a stack of books. Just as before, begin with a simple rectangle to establish the base of the bottom book. Then mark the corners and construct the top plane of the flattened cube. Keep it tilted slightly to match the perspective. Next, establish the base of the second book, but rotate it to a different angle. Notice how the perspective lines still come together in a consistent way. Once you have the basic shape of the top book, draw its top surface and side planes. When the construction is done, start drawing the book using cleaner lines. Begin with the side edges of the pages using smooth, slightly curved strokes. Then draw the top cover of the upper book, followed by the bottom cover. Keep the gap between the pages and the cover even all around. Now add thickness to the spine by drawing the visible side planes facing us. Don't worry if you need to erase or redraw the parts. Even if you remove an important line by mistake, you can always bring it back. Keep refining the rest of the spine edges. Faster, more confident strokes usually give cleaner and straighter lines. Here you can also use the effect of atmospheric perspective. Make the lines that are closer to us darker. This combination of linear perspective, atmospheric perspective, and overlaps helps create basic volume in your drawing. Next, erase any leftover construction lines on the top book and move on to the bottom one. Notice how the two books are turned at different angles. Along with perspective and overlaps, this creates an additional sense of three-dimensionality. Outline the lower book. Make the edges of the cover clean and straight, just as you did with the upper book. Remember that the distance between the upper and lower edges of the cover should stay roughly the same. Then, draw the outer edges of the cover in detail. Darken the lines that are visually closer to us to further emphasize the effect of atmospheric perspective and separate one book from other. Erase and refine the lines wherever necessary. Now add the page texture. As before, don't make every line the same thickness. Also keep in mind that the lines closer to the viewer should look a bit darker and cleaner, while those farther away should look a bit lighter. This also helps to show depth. Next, add shadows with smooth, even hatching. If your hatching isn't perfect, don't worry, it gets better with practice. To make your hatching cleaner and more even, hold your pencil farther away from the tip. Don't press too hard while hatching. Keep in mind that the shadows on the surfaces should be lighter than the cast shadow, falling from one book to the other. And that's all. This book drawing tutorial is complete. If you enjoyed the tutorial, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and check out the full drawing tutorial on my website.